listening to the Marketing Personalities Podcast, a podcast for growth-minded entrepreneurs that serves up valuable insight and interviews about aligning your marketing strategy with your personality type. Because here's the deal. You shouldn't have to feel fake and salesy in order to grow your business. And you no longer have to. Your marketing strategy can feel good to implement and it can work. You can attract the right clients and customers to your business and grow your profits, all while staying true to who you naturally are. So in the name of honest business growth, bring your unique talents, perspectives, and personality to the table. And join us on this week's podcast episode to discover marketing that feels good for you. Welcome back to another episode of the Marketing Personalities Podcast. Hey, I'm Brit Kolo, and I'm here today with Kristy Runzer. She's a financial planner and coach, and really, she's your girlfriend to talk about money with without any judgment. Okay, that's what Kristy's all about. So Kristy, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you so much for having me, Brit. I'm super excited to dive in.
Now, Kristy and I are here today to discuss a specific tribe of personalities, the Explorer tribe. Now, if you're not familiar with the Explorer tribe yet, that's okay. That's what this podcast episode is all about. And Kristy herself is part of this tribe. You are also part of this tribe if your personality type is one of these four: ISTP, ISFP, ESTP, or ESFP. All right. And Kristy, I kind of jumped the gun here. Usually I wait to tell what you are, but we'll just jump right in here. Kristy is an ISFP, and Kristy and I have worked together in a one-on-one coaching relationship before. And that's where we really were able to dig into her personality type. And Kristy was really around. She was one of my marketing coaching clients when I started uncovering these trends of personalities. She and I were talking about them in our coaching. Marketing personalities didn't exist yet, but because of my experience with Kristy specifically and the other people I was coaching at the time, I was able to start connecting these dots. So Kristy's been around from the beginning here, and it's been really interesting to get to know her and her personality type, because I will say her personality type is very different from other coaching clients that I had worked with in the past. So lots of cool stuff going on here. And we're going to dive into the Explorer tribe today with Kristy. And it's not a tribe I usually get to work with. So it'll be an extra interesting conversation. So Kristy, before we dig into all the personality stuff, right? It's going to be awesome. But before we get there, I want the listeners to get to know you a bit better. So tell us, who the heck are you in this world? What do you do? Who are you? Bring us in.
Yeah. And Britt, I can't speak highly enough of your coaching and that process and learning how my personality type was going to align with my marketing strategy, not only me, but my ideal clients, and how that all came together. So I really enjoyed being a part of that process as you were developing marketing personalities. But I'm the owner of OnRoute Financial. It's a financial planning and coaching business. And I serve female entrepreneurs who have some pretty big goals, but they're ignoring their finances. And that's holding them back from reaching their goals. So I help them to kind of get out of that state of hot mess and overwhelm and get more into that state of we are taking action that feels good, that feels fun, that feels easy. And I do it all by being that girlfriend that you can talk to about money without feeling judged.
Yeah. And also, we'll even rewind the tapes even farther. Kristy and I first met at an event where Kristy was speaking at. And I was an attendee. I wasn't speaking. I was just participating. And I was in Kristy's workshop and immediately was like, I like this girl. I like how she's speaking about money. This is different. It wasn't really even about money. It was about our mindset around money, right? And so I latched onto that. I followed up with Kristy after the workshop. This is what, 2017? Yeah.
2017.
I followed up with her I was Kristy's client for a few months because I was that girl ignoring her finance. Like, I mean, I kind of had an idea, but I was also being ignorant, just to kind of like ignorance is bliss around here. And so I jumped in to coaching with Kristy, and she really helped me get my mind around my numbers and give me a reason to look at my numbers. And then a few months later, we switched roles and I coached her in marketing, which was such a cool reversal. And like I said, Kristy's been around for a very long time with me. And I can definitely say that the speaking about money without judgment is hard to come by. And I'm just encouraged and hopeful and happy that that's the kind of work that you're doing in the world. Because A, you were made for it, and B, we all need it. So super cool.
Yes. Because you are not alone in ignoring and avoiding. That is super common, super normal. And honestly, you had it together a lot more than you thought, which is very common as well. When I'm working with new clients, they're like, everything's going wrong. I don't have anything together. But really, once we start peeling back the layers, there are so many positives and so many amazing things going on. And in working with you and just seeing how you were so smart and savvy and such a great little business owner, I was like, I need to work with Brit too. I need to be her client, because you were just speaking right into my soul with all of your marketing that feels good. So I really enjoyed that experience of, working with you as a coach, but then also as a client.
Yeah, all the way around. So good. So tell us, how did you get here to being a financial planner and coach for female entrepreneurs?
Yeah. So this is actually my second financial planning business, and I launched it in March of 2018. So I'm not even a full year in yet. But I had spent the past 5 years as a financial planner in my first business, which I started right after college. So I went to school at Penn State and got a finance degree. I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do with it. I just knew that I wanted to be in business in some sort. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but thought that you had to invent something or have this crazy product that you invented and could sell. So I wasn't sure what my business life would look like, but I knew that all businesses, made money, spent money. So I was like, I'll go get a finance degree. That sounds good. So coming out of school, I had two career paths. I had the corporate route, right, where you go do corporate finance, get the salary, the benefits, the cushy paycheck, or going the personal finance route, which most of those jobs were, commission or just based on getting clients and working with people one-on-one. And naturally, I went that route because I do value freedom, which we'll talk more about as we dig into the explorer tribe. Mm-hmm. But I wanted the dream, I wanted the time freedom. I wanted the unlimited income potential. That just sounded so amazing to me. I did not know what it would take to get there. I'm still working to get there, but I went for it. So I started that business, and it was kind of a hybrid role actually between being an entrepreneur and being in a corporate setting. So it was very entrepreneurial in that, there was no salary, there were no benefits. I was fully responsible for getting my own clients, maintaining them, servicing them. But it was corporate in a way too, because I was at this firm and I had compliance support. They had a staff there. There was an infrastructure. There was a training program for the first 3 years. So it was kind of interesting to be, fully in control of my clients and my destiny on one end, but also on the other end, kind of in that male-dominated corporate setting that is very financial services. And I'm sure, many other industries as well. I'm sure some of the listeners out there can resonate with being in a male-dominated industry and everything that comes with that. So I'm going along. I get out of the training program in 3 years. I was hitting success by maybe an outsider's definition, right? I was doing over $100,000 in sales. I had a good book of clients. I got my certified financial planner designation, but I wasn't happy, right? I wasn't feeling fulfilled and feeling that purpose. And all of a sudden, in maybe my 4th year in that business, I was at home every day for a couple months watching Netflix, right? Like not doing anything to grow my business. And I was like, okay, something's wrong here. So I took a lot of time to reflect and just think about what would be fulfilling for me, what would make me happy, what would bring me that purpose, and just started realizing what wasn't working for me in my business. So I wasn't serving my ideal clients. I was working with the pre-retiree who had, hundreds of thousands of dollars to invest, maybe millions of dollars to invest, because that's very traditional financial services, right? You work with people who quote unquote have money. I didn't like the way that my schedule was working, even though I had control over it. I was still meeting with clients in the evening. I was going to clients' homes. And I felt also a lot of disconnect with the industry. I felt like the industry wasn't serving a vast majority of the population. The industry was serving, rich men, white, who had millions of dollars. And I was like, okay, what about younger folks, people of color, people who don't have money to invest? Who's serving them? Who is helping them? Mm-hmm. So it was like this conflict. It was this crossroad of, I love financial planning. I can see how it brings peace of mind, how you can be strategic with your money in order to design and create your dream life. It can provide freedom for you. But, I wasn't satisfied with who I was serving and how I was showing up and what the industry looked like. That's when I started side hustling OnRoute. And actually, I was side hustling when I met you, Brit. Mm-hmm. I was doing a lot of speaking and networking. And I just kind of jumped in by saying, okay, I want to help people like me. I want to help women business owners. So I joined a bunch of local networking groups, which is very outside my comfort zone as an introvert. But I did it. I went to those networking events, started taking on clients and really educating myself about what an online business could look like, a virtual financial planning company. And about a year ago, made the jump, left behind my clients. My husband, actually, we met at the firm that I was working at. So it was super easy to just transition my clients to him. But it was interesting because that was something that I could have sold. Like that book of business was an asset that was worth roughly $120,000. So for all of you business owners who feel like I'm behind on retirement, I don't have savings, I don't have the benefits, your business is worth something. I could have sold that for over $100,000. So remember that there's equity in the business and there's value there. Because I always hear entrepreneurs saying, I'm not saving for retirement, I'm so far behind. But you do have an asset that you're building and that you're growing. So, I didn't sell it. I gave it to my husband, but, we're married. That income still comes into the household. And most importantly, I know my clients are taken care of. So right. Here I am now. I kind of started at zero about 9 months ago.
And now you're doing the planning and the coaching completely under your own name. It's all you. It's Kristy. You're able to take this essentially ball of clay and make it into whatever feels right for you.
Exactly. I'm able to add in things like education so I can teach my clients about finance and how to manage their money and the things that they didn't learn in school. And also I can bring in things like money mindset. That's not something that's talked about traditionally in the industry. And as a financial planner, I wasn't totally getting all the results I wanted in my finances, even though I had all the skills. My mindset wasn't right. I didn't feel deserving of money, right? I felt like my worth was defined by my sales and my revenue. So I had a lot to work through there, but things like mindset and education, bringing that into the business has really excited me and felt really fun and natural.
And isn't that so funny? I mean, I feel like you and I could have a whole other conversation about how money and finances is maybe taught to us if we happen to take a business elective, and it's usually about spreadsheets and numbers, and there's never anything taught to us in our regular education about finances or money. And there's definitely never anything taught about the mindset, which we know between you and I, the mindset is maybe even that's a bigger thing. That has so much to do with money and finances that's never taught to us. And we are entrepreneurs, whether we're male or female, it doesn't matter. We all have many things going on as it relates to money and finances that have nothing to do with numbers and spreadsheets. So that's just a huge mind blown thing. And again, I'm super encouraged and happy that you're here doing this and that you have gone against the grain and have been willing to pave your own path in this direction, which brings me and us to your personality type, right? Mm-hmm. So as I mentioned before, you are an ISFP. Let me break that down for the listeners if this is kind of new to them, okay? So an ISFP, also known as the adventurer, and this is what the letters stand for. I stands for introverted, S stands for sensing, F stands for feeling, and P stands for perceiving, okay? And this personality type that Kristy has makes her a part of the explorer tribe. And the explorer tribe, like I mentioned before, ISTP, ISFP, ESTP, and ESFP. And if you notice, what these 4 personality types have in common are the 2 letters S and P. So these people might be introverted or extroverted, and they might be thinkers or feelers, but they all have the S, the sensing S, and the perceiving P in common. Okay. So what we know about this explorer tribe, I'm just going to run through just 4 things that we know about this tribe. So you can, if you're not part of this tribe, you can start to wrap your mind around what's going on here. And if you are part of this tribe, you can start to feel some resonance and some validation. You might have already felt that coming from Kristy and been like, oh my goodness, how does she know? Like, I'm so much like her. Well, if you're part of the explorer tribe, yeah, you probably are. So our explorers are experience driven. Explorers tend to appreciate spontaneity. They like getting their hands dirty. They tend to be pretty hands-on learners. And they like being part of the process in order to learn and grow. Okay, so while other tribes might start with organization or the mission or the why or the strategy, like we've learned from all the other types so far, explorers start with action. They make sense of things as they work on them. And rather than planning everything out ahead of time, they start by getting their hands dirty, playing with the pieces, building something from there, and learning and growing and figuring things out as they go. They tend to be pretty go with the flow type of people. They're naturally spontaneous for the most part. And they do tend to be best when they're making decisions on the fly with not a whole lot of preparation preceding. And in their best light, they tend to know that life is happening right here, right now, and they're consistently ready to take it all in. Okay. And with all of that said, being that they love experiences, they have to start with action, and they're very much go with the flow. They love freedom, because without freedom, none of that stuff that I just said is even possible, right? If they're already kind of feeling boxed in, their experience is dulled, they can't go with the flow, and they feel unable to take the actions that they need to move forward, right? So freedom is typically a pretty huge value for an explorer type. And Kristy, you've already kind of mentioned that is part of what you've always been seeking. And what I also find, and then I'm going to turn it over to you, Kristy, what I also find is that the explorer tribe in our society isn't always appreciated like the other tribes are. So while the strategists, the analysts are easily appreciated in our society to strategize and create the plan, And while the diplomats are out there doing the big stuff and having their big messages and their big visions and their big whys, and the sentinels are organizing things and keeping us all in line, the explorers often are over here doing things that the rest of us struggle to make sense of. And I also will go as far as to say, I think natural explorers, when they were kids, were probably taught to rein it in, right? And so I find that explorers sometimes don't always appreciate their type and their natural tendencies because they might have been told that their natural tendencies aren't right in the past. And so now, Kristy, I'm really interested to hear from you. I know that all of this resonates with you because we've already had conversations about it. Tell me about that last bit and if that resonates with you or not. I mean, it's not a rule, it's a trend for everybody. So take me into, do you feel like your explorer tendencies have been tried or dulled over time from how just kind of like our society works right now? Take me into that. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. And you nailed it. That is so much the explorer personality type. I was over here like, yep, nodding my head. But yeah, I think that's super true. The one example that I can think about is when I was first starting OnRoute, I heard so many messages from so many amazing teachers around strategy, plan, workflows, funnels, and just all these shoulds almost of like, you should do this, 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 this. And that didn't resonate with me. I rebel against that. That makes me feel boxed in. That doesn't allow me to express myself freely and to focus on things that feel good and come naturally. So when we did our deep dive session back in April, you basically gave me a big fat permission slip to leave the shoulds behind and to just try stuff and experiment with stuff. And I had never received that advice before. Like you mentioned, that's not really a lot of the messaging that as an explorer I received, that I can have fun, that I can experiment, that it can be easy. And when I heard that from you, I was like, whoa, mind blown. Wow, I can just actually show up, try something, and tweak from there. Because what was happening was I was so overwhelmed with all the shoulds, I didn't know which direction to go, that I was doing nothing. I was totally avoiding my marketing. I had no strategy. And when you gave me a permission to just experiment and try stuff, all of a sudden I was putting out a blog post a week. I had multiple Instagram posts a week going out. I was writing to my email list, which I hadn't been doing. So just knowing that it can be fun and easy and experimental and in the flow, and it can be part of the process, and that's okay, is huge. Because I don't think that message is out there. I think you're right about that.
Yeah, and for the reason being that we're all different, and the analyst tribe, if you are in that tribe that we've already spoken about, you start with strategy. And guess what? There are a lot of analysts in the entrepreneurial space. A lot of them. They're everywhere.
Yep.
And so obviously they're going to share what has worked for them. And that has been starting with strategy. On the exact flip side, we've got explorers also in the entrepreneurial space being told a lot of this strategy stuff. Meanwhile, they're really needing just to take some action and screw up a couple times for them to learn and move forward. And the point here is that neither one is right or wrong. It's what's going to feel right for you that matters. And I'll also say this, and because we've had this conversation right from the beginning, Kristy, of when you and I found each other, when it came to your marketing strategy, you were very much hoping to work with me to map out your exact strategy, because you had been listening and hearing about how strategy was really important and it wasn't clicking for you yet. And everything felt really heavy within the strategy that you had created. And you were hoping to still create a strategy, but one that felt easier. And it was very clear to me, and eventually I think for you, that you were being attracted to your exact opposite of how you operated, because something within you told you whatever feels natural is not going to probably work here. And I see that all the time. I see it all the time in people. They have this natural ability to do what feels good, and that's going to work for them. And for whatever reason, they are attracted to their exact opposite because somewhere along the way, they've been told that they're bad at that thing, their opposite thing. No kidding, because it's completely in opposition with their natural personality type. And therefore, their mind has attached to the fact that they're bad at it, and they've tried to get better at it, and they've focused on trying to get better at that. I see this all the time in specifically INFJs trying to be master salespeople. And INFJs, their exact opposite personality type is an ESTP, who is in the Explorer tribe. They are incredible. ESTPs are incredible at direct sales conversations. I know a couple ESTPs in my world, and I'm constantly just flabbergasted at how easily and easefully they can just approach someone, ask for the sale, and get it. And I'm over here as an intuitive feeler like, what? Are you just skimming the surface with everything and still getting the sale? And it's because that's how an ESTP works. Meanwhile, the INFJ, who is in direct opposition with that ESTP, that is not how they operate at all. And to then think that they're bad at sales and then they need to go and try to sell like an ESTP would. No. I mean, I get why they're attracted to it. They're opposite. But let's take a step back and figure out how marketing and sales feels good for you and not for your opposite. We definitely saw that for you in being attracted to the strategy piece. And now, like you said, I gave you a big fat permission slip to loosen the strategy and just start putting things into action. And that across the board for other explorers, I mean, each personality type gets their own unique marketing strategy advice based on their specific one personality type. But across the board for explorers, remember that you must start with action, and it's okay if you start without a strategy. That's my number one advice there. So take me into how that has transpired for you. It was in April that we really worked through that, or you started to get the idea of like, oh, okay, it's okay to not have my strategy perfectly mapped out, and I can put some things into action, experiment with them, and see how it goes. How has that been working for you? What's going on with that?
Yeah. And just that, letting it be fun and easy and playing on the natural strengths, like you were just talking about, has seriously been a game changer for me in so many ways. One big way is the fact that I actually just started getting stuff done. That was huge, right? How many times, I'm sure some of the listeners can resonate with this, is having these goals, having these visions, and never actually getting the work done or sitting down to do it because whatever is blocking you. And for me, it was because I was trying to lead with strategy and not action. But switching to action allowed me to get stuff done. That was for me one of the biggest wins, right? Just putting stuff out there in the world. And there were so many side benefits that came from that. Once you start creating and putting stuff out there, I was making so many new connections, whether it was a friend or a collaborator or a client or just a like-minded business babe, right? I was able to learn more, not only about myself, but also about my ideal client, because they would be responding to my emails and saying, oh my goodness, you so got me on this one, or this is such a struggle that I'm having. So learning about people, connecting with people, getting stuff done, and just my mindset and the way that I felt, the way that I showed up. I was no longer coming from that energy of shoulds, which for me, when I'm in a should place, it's a lot of doubt. It's a lot of negative self-talk. It's a lot of creative flow being blocked. So I was able to go from that place into a place where I was like, okay, yeah, this is fun, right? I can just show up and I can share what I love and what I'm naturally good at. And I can connect with people and I can learn and I can grow and I can build community. And that mindset shift has been huge. Like we were talking about earlier, I think mindset is 80%, 90% of the issue a lot of the time. The practical strategy and skills we can learn, but getting in that right headspace is everything.
Yeah, exactly. You create the reality you're in. Your perception is your reality. And if your perception, aka your mindset, is crap, guess what reality is?
Yep.
Like I've shared, I don't get to work a ton with explorers. I kind of like that. Here's why. Because explorers don't need to work with a marketing strategist a whole lot. I mean, eventually, sure. Hopefully one that is willing to say, you don't need things mapped out perfectly. You need to go put something into action right now, which is how we coach together. And that's why it worked. But I think while I don't get to work with explorers one-on-one very often, I do see a trend. And I wonder, I don't know, this is just me speaking out loud and just thinking through this. I wonder if explorers tend to feel like they're not getting stuff done very often because of what they have in common, the S and the P. The S being sensing and the P being perceiving. It's a lot of external cues being brought in and being paid attention to. So as an S, you're a sensor and therefore less intuitive. And so you're sensing external cues as opposed to the internal cues. And then as the perceiver, you are not a J, a judger. And so you are naturally keeping doors open, windows open, things open to transpire. And so what I recognize in explorers is you're always on the journey exploring, right? Like that's kind of the point. You're always on the journey and you're naturally willing to flow with that journey. And sometimes I think when that happens, as you're taking in these external cues, keeping things open, not having too many hard and fast like rules or things, it might feel like you're not getting stuff done. So that's interesting. I'll be interested to hear from other explorers who are listening. If you're an explorer and you're in part of this tribe, I am interested to hear if that resonates with you or not. Feeling like you're always on the journey, but not always getting stuff done. And I wonder, Kristy, how you now are feeling like you're getting stuff done. So what kind of things are helping you recognize the progress in the journey?
Yeah, that's a great point. And I would be curious how other explorers respond to this as well, because that definitely is something that I struggle with. And I think for me, it shows up as procrastination. And it also shows up as a need for accountability. So I'm somebody who has worked with so many coaches, for example, because not only do I value, of course, that, unbiased third-party insight, but I value the accountability. And that's something that I need to get stuff done. And with the procrastination as well, I need to kind of set deadlines for myself or let people know what I'm doing. So I'm in a mastermind group. I have coaches that I've worked with. I use Trello and I set deadlines in there. Now, sometimes, I'm procrastinating past my deadlines because it's part of my explorer personality potentially, but it is sometimes a struggle when I'm not feeling in the flow, when I'm not feeling excited, when I'm not feeling creative and passion-filled and purposeful. And sometimes you just need to get stuff done, right? Sometimes stuff just needs to go out. So I can definitely resonate with that. And I'd be curious to hear what the other explorers say and how it shows up for them. But for me, it's definitely, procrastination and a deep need for accountability.
Well, and I feel like that sounds like a really healthy blend because no personality type or tribe is better than any of the others. And with that being fact, we know that we all have downfalls. We all have strengths, and we also have things that we're not great at. Like everybody does, no matter what. And so it sounds like you have, and you're continuously on the journey of blending your freedom, craving, exploring, adventuring self with still a knowing that you'll need to get something done in order to sustain yourself. And so while the getting stuff done might not be internally produced, it sounds like you've already kind of known, like, if I'm left to my own devices, I'm going to be this balloon just kind of floating everywhere. So, and that's fine. You're going to let yourself do that. And then you're going to rely on someone who has a different lean to just hold on to your balloon string. Yep. Like not yank you down. They're not yanking you down. You're still floating, but you're just grounded enough to be able to move forward and not just all over the place. That's what it sounds like you've been able to blend.
Exactly. Because, at least me, I feel like no one really can do this alone. We all need those people there who are supporting us. And another thing too that keeps me going is just remembering that I'm here to serve and I'm here to help others. So when I go into that headspace of not feeling it, not wanting to do much around putting stuff out there, I remind myself that I'm here to serve and I'm here to help. And that is a good motivator. So kind of finding what those motivators are and remembering them and reminding myself of those daily has definitely helped as well.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I'm curious, if you were to speak to another explorer type, a sensor and a perceiver, what would you tell them, that fellow explorer? What would you help them out with?
I would tell them to let it be easy and let it be fun. Mm-hmm. And don't worry about having it all figured out. You can figure it out as you go, right? Just take the action and your results will come. You'll figure it out as you go.
Yeah. And that's going to be enough.
That's enough. That's all you have to do. You just have to take action that feels fun and easy.
Yeah. Amen. I love it. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for that, Kristy. I want to have the listeners be able to find you online. So where can they go to find your good stuff?
You can find me at onroutefinancial.com. That's ONROUTE financial.com. And I have a free goal setting course available if you want to grab that. It's onroutefinancial.com/free course.
Perfect. Yes. Goal setting, as I'm speaking from a perspective of someone who has worked with Kristy and remains, I think, someone who continues to just always need Kristy and her financial planning and advice and coaching and her ear just to listen to me and not judge me. That goal setting sometimes can be hard if you do tend to kind of think ignorance is bliss when it comes to money. But the way in which Kristy guides and leads you through it is so easy. It's just easy. It's not hard. And so, yes. All right. You got to go check her out. Go get that free course on onroutefinancial.com/free course. Easy to remember. And to find a marketing strategy that feels good to you, visit marketingpersonalities.com. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Marketing Personalities Podcast. Now it's time to connect your marketing strategy to your personality type. Go to marketingpersonalities.com/MPP to download your marketing personality type full report. Use the code MPP at checkout to get $10 off. And that's a super special code for podcast listeners as a way to say thank you for being here. In your full report, you'll learn about your personality type, how it relates to the work you do, what your best marketing strategy includes so you can start implementing it right away, what your worst marketing strategy includes so you can avoid it, and so much more. Go to marketingpersonalities.com/MPP to get your full report and use the code MPP at checkout to receive $10 off your purchase. And one more thing before you skip on to the next podcast. Would you please share this episode with your entrepreneur friends who also need to feel good about their marketing strategies? Take a quick screenshot of your podcast app right now and share it out via text, Facebook, or my favorite, Instagram. Remember to tag me at Marketing Personalities in the photo so I can be sure to send you a huge high five and thank you for sharing the love. This podcast is edited and produced by the Podcast Engineers. They're pretty great, and you can find them at podcastengineers.com. That's all for now. Thanks as always for listening, and I'll catch you back here next week on the Marketing Personalities Podcast. Love ya. Bye.